Pock. I knew before we even parked the car that it would be one of those visits. The kind where you tell yourself not to expect much, and then feel foolish for expecting anything at all. The house looked the same, lights too bright for afternoon. The smell of fried onions lingering from lunch. My kids took their shoes off neatly by the door, lined them the way I taught them to. My brother's kids ran past us, already tearing at ribbon. The sound of paper ripping sharp and joyful. My mother hugged me quickly, one arm, distracted. She knelt for my children and smoothed my daughter's hair, then said it, almost kindly, as if she were explaining the weather. "We couldn't afford gifts for your kids this year," she said. "You know how things are." She said it softly, like it was unfortunate, like it wasn't personal. I nodded. I had learned long ago that nodding kept the air breathable. My kids sat on the couch, hands folded, watching. I hadn't told them anything on the drive over. I didn't want disappointment to arrive early. Then the boxes started opening. An iPad first. The screen lit up the room. My nephew squealed. Designer shoes next, white, untouched, expensive in that unmistakable way. Someone whistled. My brother laughed, loud and easy, like this was proof of something working as it should. My father leaned back in his chair and said, "What can you do? Times are hard." He chuckled at his own joke. No one looked at me when he said it. No one had to. I felt something tighten, but it wasn't anger. It was recognition. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a pattern wearing a friendly face. I waited for an explanation that didn't come, for someone to notice the imbalance and correct it. Instead, conversation moved on. Coffee was poured. Photos were taken. My kids didn't complain. That part hurt more than anything. They'd learned the rules without being taught. I didn't confront anyone. Not because I was being noble, but because I finally understood that explaining myself here was a kind of begging. And I was tired of begging for things that were framed as unreasonable the moment I asked. I stood up quietly and said we were going to head out early. My mother looked surprised, then vaguely inconvenienced. "Already?" she said. "We just sat down." I smiled. I gathered coats. I tied shoelaces. My son asked if he'd done something wrong. I said no, and meant it in a way I hadn't before. No one stopped us. The drive home was silent except for the heater humming. At a red light, I caught my reflection in the mirror. I looked older than I felt. Or maybe I felt older than I wanted to admit. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat on the edge of my bed with my phone. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't crying. That surprised me. I opened my social media app and stared at the blank space where words go to die or live longer than you expect. I didn't name names. I didn't accuse. I wrote slowly. Sometimes, "We can't afford it," is less about money and more about choice. Tonight, my children learned something I wish they hadn't. That fairness can be explained away with a smile. I'm choosing distance over confusion. That was it. I posted it and put my phone face down. By morning, it wouldn't stop buzzing. My aunt first. Then a cousin I hadn't spoken to in months. Then my mother, calling repeatedly, messages stacking up unread. What surprised me most was who called last. My grandfather. He didn't ask what happened. He said, "I saw what you wrote. We need to talk." All of us. There was no anger in his voice. Just finality. We met that afternoon. Not at my parents' house. At his. Neutral ground with rules whether spoken or not. Everyone was quieter there. My grandfather asked my parents to explain. Not defend, explain. He referenced my post without quoting it, like it was a document already entered into record. My mother talked about budgets. My father talked about timing. My brother stared at the floor. My grandfather waited until they were finished. Then he said, "You realize how this looks?" No one answered. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't scold. He said something worse. "If you don't see the difference between not having much and not giving equally, then you've mistaken comfort for fairness." The room shifted, not dramatically, but enough. No one apologized the way movies teach people to. There were phrases instead. Didn't realize. Didn't mean it that way. Wasn't intentional. I listened. I didn't interrupt. I didn't argue. For once, I didn't need to. Afterward, my mother hugged me longer than usual. It felt uncertain, like she wasn't sure where to place her hands. Things didn't magically fix themselves. Holidays are still complicated. Some calls come less often now. My brother avoids the topic entirely. But something changed. No one jokes anymore when they say, "Times are hard." And no one tells my children they're less without realizing there will be witnesses. I didn't win anything. I just stopped carrying something that was never mine to begin with.